Hello everyone, it's me Zohair Malik, counselor for UK at Numan Chata Solicitors, Immigration and Education Consultant. Today we are doing a live session on current situation of COVID-19 in UK and about the credibility interview. What should keep in mind things while giving the credibility interview. Here with me, Mr. Charles Maggie from BCU, International Regional Manager at Birmingham City University. Hi, Charles. How are you?
Hello, very well, Malik. Good afternoon for me and good evening to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, views, we are doing this live session to know about the student that what should we the things we should keep in mind while giving the credibility interview. So, please, Charles, could you please tell our views that what should of like key factors should keep in mind while giving the credibility interview, and what is UKVI immigration ask about the credibility interview? What sort of question they will ask about from the candidate?
Okay, we'll take one question at a time. On COVID-19, there's a UK government website can give you all the details, but I'm going to give you some of the top liners. Okay, we've had a 4-week national lockdown in the state of England. Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland have had their own. In the United Kingdom, health authority issues is devolved into the various states. That's why you hear about the state of England and the government talk about it. So it's not a whole nationwide like defense, foreign affairs. It's a state level. So some of the top liners are tomorrow. The national lockdown for England actually ends on Wednesday, and then different parts of England go into different tiers of restrictions.
Okay.
So people can go to the shops. Currently, people can go to the shops, and we'll talk about after Wednesday. People can go to the shops. If they go to they can go to restaurants. They can't go into a pub and order a beer, but they can go to the shops. They can go to the gym and work out. They can go to university, and even the national lockdown did not restrict teaching in universities, but the UK government wants universities to cease face-to-face teaching before Christmas. They want to make sure that all the students can go home for Christmas time. Christmas is the national culture holiday in the UK. It's the equivalent to Thanksgiving Day in the United States. So there'll be a lot of online teaching up to Christmas. Now, after New Year, the university plans to have both face-to-face and online teaching. So it'll be blended teaching. So that's the plan. And also certain programs like in engineering, in the art design, will require access to lab, and also tutorials need one-to-one teaching. So some of the really very mass teaching where you require 400 people to sit and listen to a lecture theatre, well, that type of teaching can become online, because that does have, if it's a monologue, it can be done online. If it's a dialogue, it can be done face to face. So that's a kind of very rough rule of thumb I want to suggest. So in different parts, I've mentioned, to reiterate, in different parts of England and going underground, it varies. But now, students from Pakistan coming over in the COVID-19 situation, well, after you get your visa, when you land here, you have 2 weeks of self-isolation. Different countries, the UK government, again, because it's a state level, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland have slightly different rules and regulations per different countries, but all 4 states will have the same for Pakistan. Students have to come, you have to self-isolate for 14 days, then afterwards you can participate in your physical enrollment, etc. So it's just something to bear in mind. And during self-isolation, you're not allowed to leave your home for 2 weeks. I mean, go to your back garden, etc., and you'll have to. If you're in Hall of Residence, they will show you how to buy food online, etc. So that's what Pakistan students should do. And then after 2 weeks, you can go to the university, face-to-face lectures, etc. So it's kind of new norm, and I think for any Pakistan students, for the next couple of years, there won't be the norm way of life we had before March this year for another 2-3 years until there's vaccines or become international spread
Yeah.
spread around the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's working on a new normal, and you just have to adjust to it, and that's just the way. I could talk about more, but the government website, gov.uk, can explain all the details of COVID-19, wearing face masks going into shops. I mean, I would bore you with all the details, but I'm not going to, but it's on, in the government website.
Okay.
Now, moving on to your second question about things to prepare for the student interview. Is that correct? The credibility interview,
Yes.
part of the student visa. Okay, a couple of things for the applicants who have not submitted their applications. Things are getting tight. One of the things that the UKVI officers, they're commonly called ECO officers, entry clearance officers. Some of the things they want to see is they want to see, is there rational progression between the past, present, and future? What you've studied, what you've studied in the past or worked in the past, what you want to study in the near future, the present at BCU, and what your future plans. Now, regarding present, near future, future, if you want to do a master's course and say you want to say I want to do a general management course, and then you tell the ECU officer about our fantastic finance facilities and our access to the stock market and accessing all the market data, and then afterwards you want to return to Pakistan and work in the Pakistan stock market, they may question your credibility because you should have done like MSc finance and investment, because that's in line with what you want to do in the future. So that's the first thing. Is your thinking joined up? Is your master's in line with what you do want to do in the future? So that's the first thing. The second issue I would say is, so you when you're talking to the ECU officer, they might ask you, okay, what type of job do you want? And remember, they're writing everything down. Everything's recorded in that interview. And then they'll say, you will say, I want to work here. And they'll say, okay, and how much do they get paid in that type of job? And if you say a vague answer, they'll write it down that you don't really know what you're doing. And so you need to do research into future jobs in Pakistan. So you know what happens after the interview? They go on Google and research in Pakistan how much that type of job is.
Sorry,
And
Charles, I'm asking that what sort of questions should like UK we ask with from the student, and what popular questions they will ask from the candidate, and how will they answer that question? So if
okay,
you write that.
yes, I'm explaining it. So when you're answering the question, make sure you quote to the UKVI how much the salaries and know your information about future salaries. Then they might ask you a question about, okay, so you want to come to BCU, why are you spending this amount of money if the immediate return in Pakistan is going to be this amount of money? So you need to justify and explain this is an initial expensive investment, but over a period of 5 or 10 years, I'm going to get this amount of money. And by doing this course at BCU, that will justify me getting a higher position and higher status job in Pakistan. So you need to have it coordinated about done your research. Then they'll ask some questions, for instance, okay, you want to study like accounting and finance at BCU. Tell me, what modules do they teach? and you're expected to know the modules. And then they'll ask other questions. Okay, which other universities did you apply for, or were you considering? So I see you have an application BCU. Um, okay, and if you say I didn't apply to any or didn't consider any, they'll not really consider you credible because they expect you to have looked at seriously or applied for 2 or 3 other UK universities. And then they'll expect, I applied to do the MSc in BCU, Nottingham Trent University, Coventry, and De Montfort, very similar universities. And I decided one in BCU had ABC modules that the others did not have. And these modules will help me in my career. So they'll expect you to compare and contrast very closely programs at other universities. And then they'll say, oh, tell me what is it about Birmingham City that you like about the university? So you have to look into your key selling points, and I will email that to the agency, key selling points about the university's strengths, etc. And some of the things you might want to say is like, if you're applying for an ACCA program, I decided to do an ACCA program at BCU because they're a platinum status center, and the university. Now you have to do your research in Google Maps to find out the distance time. You could say it's either 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes by walking, or I could walk by 20 minutes, or I could take a bus that number, and Google Map can provide the bus number. So you need to really go into be thoroughly prepared. Then they'll say, okay, so they'll ask those sort of questions. So just be prepared. Is there anything else I've missed? Malik, you're muted.
Hello. Yes,
Hello.
Charles. Could you please tell us that what sort of question, like why do you want to study in UK? So what should the answer by the student give to the
Okay.
UKVI, that why you want to study in UK?
Right. You may, obviously UK ECU officers and UKVI will know you have a number of options. You could go to the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Republic of Ireland, the Netherlands, Germany, United Arab Emirates. You have a number of choices, and also you could study a master's in Pakistan.
Okay.
And so you need to articulate why you have chosen United Kingdom, studying in the United Kingdom. And explain about our history. You can explain that you hope to gain some like work experience through the graduate route, and then return to Pakistan, gain studies and work experience. You may want to say, uh, I really looked at the masters in the UK, and if I look at a masters in North America, it's longer, while the UK is more intense, shorter, 12 months, and it's very focused, while some masters in other countries are not so focused. You can mention about BCU, and it has a very much applied learning, that compared to some universities in some countries especially, they have more theoretical education that are not into employability, helping people prepare for the place of work. Like in terms of British nationals, we have an employability rate, I think it's about 97.4%. So 97.4% of British nationals who graduate from us and are either in work or further studies 6 months after graduating. So that's an extremely high percentage. Now next year it'll drop, every UK university's drop because we're in a recession because of COVID-19. But you may want to illustrate about UK culture, the place you're visiting, the weather, the climate, and our type of education. So do some research, the benefits of British education over Australian or American education.
Okay.
The other thing you could say about, one more point about UK education, compared to North America, and I'm speaking from personal experience, If you study, I mean, outside New York or San Francisco, in the United States, often people talk about distances. It's only 5 minutes down the road or 10 minutes down the road. A lot of students in North America have their own cars. So you might, in UK, in British universities, especially Birmingham City University, everything is in the city center, it's compact, everything's walking distance. In North America, particularly the United States, you need a car to have a quality of life, or else you're nobody. You'll be stuck in the campus.
Okay. One more thing I want to add in this, that we should like student can tell about the QS ranking. The point you missed, that like they tell that what the QS ranking of their current university, and what is the overall education system in the UK regarding that in among the English speaking countries. So this point, one more point, can student can add in their, like, while giving the answer to UKVI.
They can, if you're talking about rankings, you might want to go into subject rankings and things like that. A lot of those rankings are based on research outputs. The thing about our type of education is about practical output. Let me compare and contrast two universities. If you look at the University of Birmingham and Birmingham City, say in the subject of law, in the University of Birmingham, they would have lots of professors and doctors of law who have conducted extensive research in law, but have never practiced law in their life. Now, at Birmingham City, we have practicing lawyers, practicing solicitors. We have some academics, but we've got a lot of people who were previous practitioners of law. Now, law is, to do an LLB or LLM, it's the same quality, same standard, but we would have a teaching from, like for instance, from a practitioner point of view, we very much teach the statutes of what the law actually says, and we also teach people to case study, like you're Joe Bloggs, you're a legal advisor of this company. This is his situation. Based on your knowledge of company law, advise Mr. Bloggs or Mr. Smith in his situation. So you use the law to answer the question and solve a problem. It's very much applied learning. It's knowing the law, but then you have to apply it. And in universities of, like University of Birmingham, they have and I use the word emphasis. They would have emphasis on legal principles and knowing the legal principles. It's different. It's a similar standard, but it's different teaching, different learning experience on the same subject. In the one more subject, like computer science, both of our universities teach computer science. They would have more of an emphasis on mathematics in computer science. We would have a more of an emphasis on programming. And it's not one course is better than another. It's what do you want in the program? Do you want more programming in your computer science program, or you want more mathematics? And if you want more mathematics, apply for University of Birmingham. If you want more programming in your computer science, come to us. And so does that give you an indication?
Sorry.
Does that give you an indication that
Yeah.
if a university is a focus on applied learning, they're less applied to research, and rankings are based primarily on research outputs?
Okay. Mostly the question asked by the UQA, that what's your future plans? Why you are doing this course or this program? So, what will you tell to our students, to our viewers, that what should the answer give by them? So,
I can answer that in one word: employability. If you study a program, like if you're studying a master's in mechanical engineering, the ECU officer expectation is that you want to get a job career in mechanical engineering. If you say, I want to run my dad's business as a company
yeah.
secretary, red flags would fly. So your choice of masters should be linked to your future career aspirations, and there should be strong linkage in it.
Means the job opportunities available in that particular field should be asked by the tell by the student, that that sort of job he will get, or she will get after completing this degree or program.
Yeah. And the student has to know, I'm hoping to get, one thing I would say the student not to do is to say vague, give vague answers to their questions. If you say, I want to work as a cybersecurity manager in Islamabad, they'll ask you, okay, what type of company, name me a company, and what kind of salaries are they getting? If you say, I don't really know any, I don't know how much they're getting, there's going to be a red
Absolutely.
flag that you're not a serious, credible student. So you've got to do your research, and and that's, I can't re-emphasize how important that is.
Okay.
Does that
Normally,
make sense?
normally students ask by the UPA that what sort of how many funds you have. So, what answer should be given by the students to according after questioning about regarding the bank statement or financials if asked by the UKVI.
Well, we will help you on beforehand because we won't give you a CAS unless you have a sufficient funding in your account. So basically, the way it works is most of our courses, there are some exceptions, are for January will be £12,800, September 13,200. So the way we do it is the fees minus the scholarship minus your deposit plus your living costs. Now, on the 5th of December, in about 6 days' time, the living cost allocation goes up slightly. So
Yeah,
after the 5th, it's going to be
seven
£9,207.
pounds.
And what the UKVI will be looking for, that's a calculation. Then multiply by the Pakistan exchange rate
Right.
as of the day you submit your paperwork. So I would also add one more thing, currency, hedging of currency risk. If you're on the line and we issue a CAS and say the Pakistan rupee depreciates 5% against sterling and it goes below it, your student visa application will be rejected on the day of submission. So I would also encourage people to have at least 5% above the requirement. So that everyone should know. So roughly, I would suggest everyone has at least 4.5 million Pakistan rupees in their bank account.
Okay.
And they also, if the if this money is in your parents, I think most applicants it's money in the parents. You've got to know that your parents will test you. Has this been allocated? Because if you come to BCU and during the enrollment period, you need to pay 50% of your fees minus, I think, your deposit. So if you don't pay that, you won't be physically enrolled. So that's important. And they don't want you to be in a situation where this money's in your parents' account, but it's not really, they're not going to really spend it on you. Then you're in a situation in the UK where you're in limbo. You've arrived in the UK, you can't physically enroll, you're enrolled online, and then eventually you will be talked to by senior people in the university before they report you to UKVI for deportation. So you don't want to be put in that situation. So it's best to tell them up front, yeah, this is the money my parents are going to allocate. If your parents don't want to allocate it, or that in difficulties, I would say defer your studies for another intake. But if your finances or family finances are sound and they've told you, they've written you a letter, you've got the CAS, then know the funds. So the first 9 months is £9,207 minimum that you need, and it's better to say you got more money than that to spend. Now I just add to this now, part-time employment and assumed earnings. Now, most years, if we were talking this time last year, December 2019, I would say to you, come to BCU. We've got plenty of part-time jobs. You know, the students I talk to, they get a part-time job. After a couple of months, they quit the part-time job and get a better part-time job. And it's easy unless you're a lunatic or something. it's easy to get a part-time job. Now, we had the lowest on before March this year. We had the lowest unemployment since about 1972, 1973, even though 72, 73. So that's how good the UK economy. COVID has hit. It's hit the economy. It's hit every economy in the world. Now, one thing they'll be might ask you about these money questions is they want to make sure, because there's no part-time jobs guaranteed while you're in the UK. Now, when this COVID situation changes and the situation rapidly improves, the unemployment will drop again very quickly. The economy will pick up again. We've got a dynamic economy. It will pick up, and maybe after 2-3 years, it'll be back to the same level it was a year ago. But nothing's ever guaranteed. So I would say for assumed earnings, don't assume them. Because it's a tough period, but you need to make that call. You're coming here primarily to UK to study. If you could, afterwards, you've got 2 years. You can stay in the UK under the graduate route and look for work. Will there be work? I can't tell. Hopefully, the COVID situation will rapidly improve, and more jobs will become available. I think in the UK, in terms of most companies, they're trying to adapt the situation. Obviously, some companies have went into liquidation, and individual private companies, some have went into bankruptcy. So it's unfortunate, but it's a situation we're facing. It's the question is, do you want to put your life on hold for a couple of years till the external situation improves, or do you want to move forward, progress, and move and adapt to a situation? So that's my advice. You need to adapt, because you never know what happens in 5 years' time if another plague hits the world, another pandemic. You don't know. So the main thing is always adapt to the situation you're in. Don't put life on hold.
Okay. Normally, visa officer will ask about you know that you can work at after while studying. So after that, you will get a PSW. So what should the answer be given by the students that is they already know that they can work, but what sort of answer should be given by them to the visa officer?
I, I would say put the focus on your studies.
Okay.
To the visa officer, they're there to make sure, remember what it is. It's a credibility interview. It's a credibility interview to find out if you're a credible student. That's the remit. The graduate route is extra bonus, and that's the way they see it. So you're primarily going there to do the masters. If you come across too much on, you're expecting to go in the graduate route, and that's your ultimate motivation, and your studies are transcendent or a transit stepping stone. That might be, but if you emphasize that, they know in the UK we probably we'll have 2.5 million people unemployed. Um, so they'll be thinking, well, this person might be disappointed, in the current situation, and they may not think you're a credible student. And so
Um,
I would emphasize education first and de-emphasize the graduate route. Um, don't put too much emphasis on it. Focus on your studies.
can give that
Oh, you're
answer
mute.
that they can as they know that they can work, but they will focus on their studies, and they already know that after completing degree they will get 2 years of post study work, but they will focus on their studies.
Yes. I
Okay.
can't, like the ECO officer knows that there's a graduate route available, but just pretend in terms of the interviews, the way your thinking should be, I'm coming to UK to study my master's or bachelor's, wherever may be the case. That's the primary motivation, and that's why I've chosen BCU. I know the course, I know the study options about coming back to Pakistan. That's the paradigm you should be in.
Okay. I think these are popular question asked by the UK visa officer. As we are live on Facebook, there are we here to answer your queries. If you people having queries regarding UK or regarding credibility interview, so you can ask here, and Charles can answer that questions. So if you people have any question regarding credibility interview or the current situation of COVID-19 in UK, you can ask here, and we will answer that question.
Okay, so
Just
I'm just going to switch off.
meanwhile, can you give us some sort of little bit information regarding the scholarship and the fees of BCU? So student will
Okay,
know about that.
okay. We've one scholarship for January. It's automatic. Everyone gets it. So our fees are 12,800 for most programs, with some exceptions. Our scholarship is 1,500. So so if you take 12,800 minus 1,500, then that drops to 11,300 pounds, and so that's how much it costs for January. In September intake, we'll have three different levels of scholarship: £2,000, 1,500, and £1,000. The £2,000 scholarship is people who've got first class degrees, people who've got GPA of like 3.6 to 4, and people who've just got passes, I think over 2.6 in their GPA, will get the £1,000 scholarship. So January, everyone gets the same. September, there's between £1,000 and £2,000 scholarships.
There is a if we get a scholarship of £1,500, so what should we get it on before the CAS, or after CAS we will receive the scholarship? On CAS is written,
From
or
my
by paying
Yeah,
the fee?
for for the CAS purposes, we will deduct so the fees minus the scholarship minus the deposit plus the living costs. That's how much we want to see in bank statements. In terms of when the methods of payment in the university, from my recollection, your deposit goes against you. So it's half the fees minus your deposit in your first semester. The scholarship is the fees minus the scholarship on semester 2. So just say you have paid £2,000 on your deposit. So for semester 1, the fees are 12,800. So half that is 6,400.
400.
So if you paid £2,000 deposit, then we will require 4,400 pounds in semester 1 payment. In semester 2, so half the fees is 6,400. So then it's like 6,400 minus 1,500 pounds.
Okay.
So 4,900. So that's how much it will be expected in your second
It means that the
semester.
scholarship will be awarded in the second semester.
Yeah, in terms of method of payments, it will be, but we'll include it in the CAS in the CAS deduction.
So
So
what
when a
if the
person
student will pay the half of the fee, like 6,400 or 5,000 pounds? So what it would be awarded in
the
the
scholar,
second semester or first semester?
it's all the second semester. It doesn't matter how much you pay.
Okay.
It's awarded in the second semester.
Okay.
Deposit is deducted from the first semester. Scholarship is deducted on semester 2.
Okay. Could you please tell that what are the admissions deadline for January 2021 intake, and what the CAS deadlines? Just the famous courses of like business schools and IT schools.
Okay. So our CAS deadline for Pakistan, for most courses, will be the 8th of January time. There's some programs like ACCA, it's I think in like third week or fourth week, I think third week of December, because they start earlier. Uh, there is two more deadlines. There's an online enrollment deadline. You need to do an online enrollment and engagement in your studies deadline. And then there's the physical enrollment deadline at BCU. So there's those deadlines in mid-February and mid-March. If you have not been engaged on your studies online, say you're waiting for your visa, um, then we will not enroll you even if you fly to the UK. So as soon as instructions will be given to those who've been given CAS how to enroll. Um, um, about this mid-January, there'll be instructions given how to enroll online, how to engage your studies online. So even you should be involved in your studies, in your program, and another thing is, if your student visa interview is delayed and you're engaged in your studies, you can tell them, I'm actually started participating online already, and that gives more credibility, and and you can talk about it a little bit if the ECU officer tells you, and that's more credible.
Okay. Mostly the schools of business and computer schools having online enrollment or physical enrollment.
We'll have both. There'll be an online enrollment and a deadline for online engagement in studies, because we recognize a lot of people will be coming late because, as you know, in Pakistan, there's delays, TB checks, there's student visa delays, etc. So we need students to engage on their studies online. You know, I would say as soon as the course starts is teaching, um, and so students should engage right at the start and not wait, not to be old-fashioned thinking, I have to be in a physical classroom, I have to see the lecture, I have to see a blackboard with chalk before I will start learning. I mean, those days have gone. You know, we're no longer living in the little house in the prairie or the Waltons and you know, the wonderful eras that were, but we're in a different era. And you have to engage with your studies online. It's a prerequisite.
Okay. So you are saying that if we apply today, we can catch the CAS deadline and will enroll for online enrollment, can go for online.
Well, it depends. Now, the issue is we've had a surge of applications from South Asia, predominantly from your friendly neighbors across the border, India. And because of that, in South Asia, there's a huge, it's about 4 times the number of volume of applications coming in from South Asia, but the same number of staff. We have actually doubled the number, but it's huge number. What I would say is, what my advice for what NC solicitors should do is, at this point, anyone who wants to apply online, help them. But I would like to see straight away that someone's got 4.5 million Pakistan rupees, because the CAS deadline, before we issue the CAS, we want to see bank statements for at least 28 days. So the
Maintain.
rest of the fees and living expenses are in the account. And we want to see at least that process start. Otherwise, there's no point in applying if your bank statements aren't ready, because that's what, you'll not get the CAS, and you'll not get the student visa. If you apply independently for student visa and your bank statements are not in order, it's going to be an automatic rejection.
Obviously.
It's a complete waste of time
Okay.
to go
But
through that
if
process.
if someone have the bank statement already previously 28 days maintained the funds like 4.5 million and all the TB test and all the documents are ready, will you suggest us to apply for Jan 2021 intake?
Yes, send the application to me directly,
Okay.
and I will prioritize it. If I can see the bank statements, this is a credible student that's is getting ready for a student visa, even haven't applied for us, but because of the tightness of the deadlines coming up, I will prioritize it. So,
Okay.
but 4.5 million in the bank account.
Okay. Right now, there's no question regarding credibility interview. Thank you very much, Charles, for joining
You're,
us and
for,
giving us the time and tell our student that what sort of precautions or what sort of key factors should keep in mind while giving the interview. And thank you very much once again for having with us.
you're welcome, Malik. Thank you for inviting me to your presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day over there, or good evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right, bye-bye.